Right, mate, we are on. Yes, people, welcome back to Process. Today we're joined by yet another guest. So we're with professional footballer playing for Blackburn Rovers. Used to be one of my old teammates as well back in the day, back in the glory days at Newcastle. Armstrong, welcome to the podcast, mate.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot for having us.
Hi, no worries. I was going to say, we were just chatting before the podcast, like, you were at Newcastle since, what, you joined when you were you were really young when you joined, didn't you? You were like 6 or something, I swear, when you first...
No, I got scouted when I was 6, but I didn't end up going to the academy till I was 9.
Yeah.
And like you said, the likes of Dan Lasser came in, I think it was that year. Carl Roberts was there. So yeah, I think you came at like under 11s, wasn't it?
I was right at that. Was that under 10s? Right then, under 10. I think I was meant to join the season after, but I joined under 10s.
Yeah.
And obviously we've been through the ranks all the way through. And like you said, like we were quite fortunate that we had a lot of lads, like our team, like especially local lads that have been through the ages. Like you said, yourself, Carl Roberts, like now playing Notts County, Dan Lasser still in Newcastle, on loan at Rotherham. Who else? Kyle Cameron, obviously all the way through the ranks as well. Gibber, Liam Gibson, like the amount of lads that we had in our age group was kind of like, very rare to have that many go through the ranks, especially in academy setups where you have like a lot of lads who are bought from all over the place. But we were quite fortunate. So I just wanted to go all the way back to obviously when you were 6, 7, however young. When did you first get started? Football, was it one of them things where your dad just passed the ball to you when the second you were born, go out the room and just start kicking it around?
Well, I think that's what he likes to say, to give him credit. No, like you said, I've got an older brother, so he played football for a boys' club. It was Blue Star at the time. It's now City Juniors. Like I said, he was just playing football every day with his mates, and I was just there. Do you know what I mean? Just joining in with him and getting kicked about and getting made a goalpost and all that sort of stuff around the streets. And he kind of just through him, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my dad loved football, my mum loves football, and that was kind of the only path I had, really. I was good at other sports, but it was just football was just constant. You know, whether it was coming back from school, just get the ball out straight away, and like I said, I think it just came through my brother and my dad, really.
Yeah, so it always interests me how like successful people kind of get the background into like what they get into, especially in football. But I think being from the Northeast as well, and like everyone from the Northeast is football mad. There's obviously rugby and stuff that some people get into, but as a young lad, you're born and bred around Newcastle United kind of thing. So were you always Newcastle fan from a young age, or was it kind of one of them things where you decided, or was it just a natural thing, part of the family?
Same again, mate. I think it's just natural, you know. You've grown up in Newcastle, mates supporting Newcastle, family were Newcastle fans, grandma, granddads. You know, it's just what I was brought into, and went to games when I was younger and seeing it at St James's Park, and like you said, coming through the academy with yourself and seeing different things that happen is, like you said, it's amazing. And for me to go through all the way in Newcastle was incredible. And like you said, it started from when I was 6 years old, you know, kicking the ball in the street.
Yeah, I know. So do you feel like you obviously joining the academy system really young? Do you feel like you missed out much in terms of like the boys' club? Obviously, Newcastle City Juniors was kind of like the local team as well. Do you feel like you missed out in that little thing? Because I remember when I was younger, when my brother was going for Newcastle City Juniors, they had quite a nice like few little trips away. They went to like Barcelona for a few tournaments, Holland for a few tournaments, and obviously it was a little bit. It's not as serious at that level, although it is serious, like kind of the older you get. Do you feel like you missed out a little bit on that going straight into an academy setup, or do you feel like the things that you experienced through Newcastle were kind of more beneficial for yourself?
Well, like you said, I got scouted at 6, and it was the fact like my dad said, look, you're not going there yet. You know, you need to enjoy your football. You need to be winning trophies. You need to learn the process, kind of thing. And I look back on it now and I think, you know what, he was right. You know, going into Newcastle, as much as it's great, you're not playing for trophies. You're not playing in a league. You're not getting cups.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to have that from 6 to 9, where I was winning trophies with City Juniors, going on tournaments, like you said, was huge. And I think a lot of kids miss out on that sort of stuff, you know, when they go into academy so early. But like you said, everyone's different, and I think I chose the right path of going to Newcastle a little bit later on, and like you said, getting the experience with a boys' club to win trophies. And and just be normal with your normal mates from school and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I think that definitely helped us in moving forward.
Yeah, I feel probably the same. Like I kind of wish, although obviously the opportunity, because I was going from like Hadenbridge Boys Club, which is just like out in the country, not really serious. Obviously, teams in Newcastle were like the kind of the next step for me. But obviously, when I was in the 10s, I got asked to go to Newcastle, and it felt like I remember actually being in like the fountain. It was, what was it called, the development centre at the time.
Yeah,
Obviously, training in the dorm bit and getting told that, and it really felt like I was Santiago Munez out of goal, getting like scouted for them. But like at the same time, when I was joining on the 10s, I kind of wish I did have, because I planned on going to Newcastle City the next season. I kind of wish I did have them maybe 2 or 3 years to kind of enjoy my football, and again have because obviously the setup that they have in Newcastle City with the whole presentation system at the end of the year, and it's like it is a big kind of party in a sense, like all the ages get together. But you didn't really have that in Newcastle. I think we had a presentation, I remember, at the end of the season, but there wasn't really anything handed out. And I think the only time anything was handed out was my first season, where you got a certificate, which I think I've still got, like for being part of the academy. I think as the years passed, like they kind of lost that, and it was very serious. Which I think that one of the big things that I've learned about football is if you don't enjoy it, you don't play well, and you don't you're not going to be able to express yourself on the pitch, which I think for young lads.
I just feel like, how can you turn that down? Do you know, if I was a young lad, obviously 6 years old, and the scouts came to my dad, it's like he's had some balls to turn it down. Do you know what I mean? Like, saying, "Oh no, like we're going to play club football for a few more years, and then see how he's getting on." I mean, if my dad had told us at the time that I'd been scouted, I'd have been like, bloody hell, I want to go straight to Newcastle. Like, that's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, but the fact he said, no, you need to play a couple more years of club football and enjoying yourself and playing with your mates and winning trophies. And I just think, looking back on it, that's been the correct decision. And like I said, it's all came down to him from stopping us going, really.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Like the amount of lads that I can remember who, like, when they were younger, even in the 9s and the 10s and the 11s, they came into Newcastle and they were maybe enjoying the football with their mates beforehand, going in, and then it's a serious environment. And then it maybe, if they get released after that 1 year, like, 'cause there was only 1 year kind of contracts in a sense at that age, like 1 year. And then after that, if you're getting released, it's kind of not only like you probably don't enjoy football as much because your confidence is completely been knocked, because you think, all right, I'm never going to be good enough to get back into this setup again. But you've kind of probably lost that passion for it, because if you're thinking, right, this is the next step up, but I wasn't enjoying my football at that because it's very serious and stuff. Maybe them extra few years enjoying your football, also building your confidence in an environment with your mates. Because when you're playing with your mates and stuff, you're having a bit of crack. You're quite a confident player, especially if you're one of the better players. If you know that you can play at Newcastle United or play at Man United or whatever, but you're going to go and play for your boys club, your confidence is going to be high, which is then something that you can take into going to the academy, which I felt I kind of missed, because when I was young, I was always, even the last few years of my time at Newcastle, I wasn't massively confident. But when I was with my mates at home, I always felt really, really confident, and even playing for the school and stuff like that, I felt like didn't even think about playing. But when I was at Newcastle, I always had that kind of anxiety because everybody around me was obviously at a very good level, and I kind of felt like, right, I need to prove myself a little bit more. So there's a lot of there's a lot of mental side of football, which we'll touch on later on in the podcast. But talking about being at Newcastle at a young age, do you feel like there was a lot of sacrifices you had to make? Obviously, the older you get, when you get to like 14, 15, you start missing a few days of school to go on the day release, and then maybe missing a few weekends with your mates, because the schedule in terms of training when you were younger was like, I can't remember, it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and then maybe a Saturday, then play on Sunday. So obviously we didn't really have weekends in a sense. Do you feel like there was a lot that you missed out on? Do you feel like the sacrifice was kind of worth it in the end?
Well, obviously looking back on it, the sacrifice was worth it for where I am now. Do you know what I mean? But at that time, for me, you don't know anything but football. Like, so if I'm saying to my mates from school, "Oh, I'm going to Newcastle for a weekend, like I'm going away to play Man City," it's like they're not going to say, "Oh, no, I want you to stay here and we want to do something." You know, when you get older, I'll be like, "We want to go out, we want to go house parties and stuff." It's like, well, I had a good group of friends around us who were like, "Look, you know, we know how good you are at football and how serious you take it. Go and express yourselves. You know, we're not gonna sit there on weekends and be like, 'Oh, where's Arma? Where's Arma?'" Do you know what I mean? It was And growing up, it was kind of like I said before, football was all I knew. So to go away on trips and train every night with Newcastle, whatever days it was kind of like this is amazing. And like I said, I just knew nothing else. It was kind of just training, go with your mates, train again, play matches. It was so intense when you look back on it. Well, like you
Hmm.
said, we were training Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. It was constant. And we were kind of good that we had a good group. Coming through Newcastle, we all got along. And I think that made it much easier. The group that we had. I loved going to training to see all you lot and in training. It was amazing, wasn't it? So, like you
Yeah, I
said,
know.
the sacrifices you make, but looking back on it now, like you can't say, "Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that." It's hard.
Yeah, it is crazy thinking about how much you actually train. Like, obviously, thinking about it now, it's like having a 9 to 5 job, then going to train on night time. It's like the whole part-time thing. But then you were doing probably 4 or 5 days a week, so it's almost like having another job while you're at school, which is like, and it's like 9 till 3 or 8:30 till 3:30 or whatever it was. I can't remember, but it is a lot. And like me, if I went back and tried to do that now, I think I'd find it a lot harder. I don't know, just when you're young, you just don't think
Yeah,
about it. I think, and especially when we've been brought up in the system, we'll call it, for so long, you are kind of used to it. And obviously the fact that we did have a good group of lads, that we didn't really have a lot of arseholes in a sense. And I think because we were in Newcastle rather than like a Man City or Man United, where a lot of lads are kind of brought in and maybe even
yeah,
bought in, we didn't really have that. I'm trying to think until we got to maybe 18s. That's when maybe lads started to get kind of brought in. Even when we were on like apprenticeship time, we didn't really have lads that were like brought in from different countries, from different parts of the UK and stuff. So we were kind of a grounded group of lads, which I think definitely helped. Do you feel like we trained too much at a young age? Well, for myself, because I had a lot of injuries, I always felt like,
yeah.
especially training on that AstroTurf, which like didn't do me
Arma.
any favors, horrendous. But do you felt like you trained a little bit too much? I think you've been okay with injuries, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Like you said, we trained a lot. It was intense. But back then, like you said, you don't really take anything in. You don't sit there and think, bloody hell, I'm training so much, yeah. Because at that
Hmm.
age group, from like 10s to 15s, that's all you're doing anyway. You're constantly playing football. If I wasn't training at Newcastle, I'd be playing football in the streets with my mates. So it'd be like. But
Hmm.
looking back on it, it is very intense. Like you said, you've obviously been unlucky with injuries, and I know a lot of lads who have been unlucky with injuries as well. And I think that might be the case of playing so many games at a young age and training so much, and it eventually catches up to you. So, like you said, I think it is pretty intense. But back then, you don't really think about it.
Hmm.
But like you said, it is hard work, and like you said, I don't know. It depends who you are. I know, like for yourself, you've been unlucky with injuries, and for me, touch wood, I haven't had so many injuries growing up. But like you said, 3 days a week train on Saturday, game on Sunday. I think it is pretty much for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. It is pretty
Yeah.
much as
It is a lot. And I think if you think about it at that age, you're probably all right. But then if you're doing that for years and years and years, the amount of almost like volume that you're building up, like your body breaks down. And then obviously when you get to kind of the first team level, the training, obviously the intensity is really high. But in terms of the volume, it probably isn't, it's nowhere near as much as what I used to train when I was little. I know what it's like. I remember my last few years because it was never, ever, the first team would probably do a little bit in the gym in the morning and then kind of, especially in season, maybe train for an hour and a half tops, but a lot of it would be intensity, lots of breaks, or maybe a bit of shape where it was never the same.
yeah.
So it always confused me. And everyone, like I said, everyone's different in terms of the body and how they react to it. So there's so many different things to think about. But talking about obviously you progressing really well through the ranks at Newcastle, you was always one of the ones that were kind of expected in a sense to kind of do well. You always kind of pushed up the age groups and stuff. How important do you feel the people that you surround yourself with, like in football and also at home, like the family, your friends outside of football, how much of an influence are they on your progression and obviously stopping you going down certain routes?
Massive. Like you said, to have a good family and friends around you is huge. At that age. I mean, probably 11s, 12s is probably the biggest, probably the best age group that we had at the time. It was really intense, and you always wanted to play a year above yourself. You always wanted to work hard, and like you said, you grow through school as well. And you get mixed in with the wrong kids, and they're doing bad stuff. They're always drinking, and at 13, 14, and you know, I was lucky enough to stay away from them kids and kind of just concentrate on my football, because I knew that I had the world at my feet. You know, I was doing really well at Newcastle, and as I grew up, I obviously got called up for England and stuff like that. So to have the right people around you is massive. And I'll touch on a bit, obviously, coming through Newcastle City Juniors, like, all I knew back then was winning. Like, because we had such a good team at that age, like, that's all I knew was winning, constantly winning. And when you come through Newcastle, it's kind of like, when you don't win, it's like, don't worry, like,
Yeah.
improvements. You know, you look on the bad stuff that's happening, you improve on it. And I kind of took that hard. Like, I kind of took it hard. You know, I was like, well, no, I want to win every game. Like, coming from 11, like, obviously 13s, 14s, you kind of say, oh, you know, winning doesn't matter. You know, as long as we're playing well, doing the right stuff. I kind of, that was the hard thing I took, really, was, well, no, like, we've just got beat, I don't know, 3-1, and you're saying that we're doing well. It was kind of like, that was kind of hard to take. And but like I said, growing up, having the right people around you, having the right coaches around you, the right mates, obviously has got us to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell you've obviously had that winning mindset instilled in you very early, which I think took you a long way. And like you
Yeah,
touched on about the academy setup being not so focused on winning, it's more like focused on like how you perform individually, or if you're trying to do the right things, which I think it isn't the right. It's the same with like kids at school, like saying like, "Oh, you did really well about this, but you could do a little bit better." But life's not like that. Like, especially football's, it's cutthroat. Like, the higher you get up, like, if you don't do well, if you're not winning, especially at the
yeah,
level that you're at, like, you're gonna get a bollocking, or like someone's like, you're gonna get stick off the media, you're gonna get shit taught, you're gonna get the
yeah,
worst of the worst kind of thing. And I think lads at a younger age need to get that in, and I think they need to be a bit more cutthroat about it. Yes, everybody needs equal opportunities in terms of like game time and stuff, like, especially young age. You need that, but in terms of the winning and losing side of it, they need to learn that at young age. But one of the coaches that I felt helped with that was Vince. Was very tough. He was
yeah,
one of the ones when we were younger who was like, that was when it started to kind of get a bit more serious. And then obviously Kev Richardson started to bring that in a little bit
yeah,
later on. Like, they're two coaches that stand out for me in terms of like the mentality side of football, rather than just about they're playing to enjoy, playing to obviously enjoy football, but play to kind of just for the sake of playing. There needs to be that kind of, yeah, we're playing to fucking win here, rather than just turning
yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think needs to be instilled a little bit younger. So again, obviously you're progressing Newcastle really well through the ranks. Is there anything you feel, like any reason in particular why you feel you progress so well at Newcastle in the setup, compared to obviously other lads that kind of drop out or maybe don't go down? They keep the progression going. There's a lot of lads who leave school early at 15, 16, go full time before a lot of other lads, but then just drop off at under 18s and maybe don't even play football. Is there any reason why you feel like your progression just kind of kept on going up and up and up?
I'm not quite sure. You know, obviously, I was always constantly working hard. I always wanted to work on my strengths and work on my weaknesses every day. You know, whether it was away from home with my dad, or I was always hard working. And I don't know. Like you said, I knew I always had talent, but it was kind of like, growing up in Newcastle, I was always small, so I always had to feel like I had to prove an extra bit. You know, I had to go 110% instead of 100 every session, every game, because I was so little. I thought, I need to stand out. Like, there's big kids I'm playing against that under 11s, 12s that I need to be better than. I need them to think, bloody hell, he's good. You know, for the size I was. And I think as I got older, I think it was maybe 15s, 16s, it was kind of, I left school early, which was mental when you think about it. It was kind of one day, you know, I think my dad had a little chat with Joe Joyce, the academy manager, and he had a chat with my head teacher at school, but I knew nothing about it. It was kind of just one day. My dad said, "Look, you're not going back to school," and I was like, what you on about? I'm in year 10. I've still got another year left, you know." And then I had a meeting with Joe Joyce and a meeting with my head teacher separately, and my head teacher kind of just said, "Look, we understand how good of an opportunity you've got. Obviously, the quality that you've got. We want to help you to get there." Because my head teacher, his son was at Newcastle at the time, a couple of years younger. So he loved football as well. So it was kind of like getting to an agreement where I could come into school once a week and train every day with lads who are 2-3 years above us. So I'd think that part there was massive, you know. being 15, 14 years old, training with 18s at the time, I think that stand us in good stead to where I am now, you know, training with them sort of kids. Like I was still a boy and they were becoming men at that time. So I'd say from that age, that's really like pushes on an extra step, like 100%.
Was there any moment, like obviously when you were younger, that you thought like I'm not going to make it here? Like, is there any sort of doubt in your mind, or was it literally just like tunnel vision the whole way?
I knew I always had the qualities to be a footballer, but there was a stage where I think I was 14s. Do you know what age was it when you got told you want to get a scholarship or not? It was 14,
It was
15.
like some lads got you. I think you may have got told right at the end of under 15s. I got told Christmas time on the 16s, and I was still like a little bit earlier than some lads.
Yeah. Well, what it was it was actually there was two young lads the year below us who got a scholarship before me, and a
Yeah,
few other lads at our age had got scholarships, and I still hadn't have one. So I was like, I kind of like didn't get it at the stage. I was playing a year above us. I was training with the 18s. I was like, how am I not getting offered a scholarship? Yeah. So at that time, it was like my dad just started to think, well, maybe I haven't got a chance here. Like maybe we should start looking at other places. You know, it's going through everyone's mind thinking, what's going on? And you know, we ended. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a meeting with Joe Joyce, Kev Richardson, you know, Dave Watson, and thinking like, what's happening? Why is he not being offered a scholarship? You know, he's doing so well. We've took him out of school, kind of thing. And it was like, look, like it was kind of like we didn't want to tell you this early, but like you're going to go straight into your professional contract at 17. He's like, we haven't told you this yet, but you're going to have a year scholarship, and then you're going to go into your professional contract. And it was kind of like, oh, like kind of like shit.
that's why.
I shouldn't really have rushed it, you know. But that's what I was like as a kid. You know, I always wanted to be the best. I always wanted to get things first. I always wanted to be the one scoring goals. I was just that's the way I was, and to be told that two young lads below us who are getting a scholarship ahead of us, and one of them was a striker, I was like, nah, this isn't right. But looking back on it, you know, if I'd just been a little bit patient, if I'd waited a couple more
Yeah.
weeks, I would have got offered obviously the professional contract and the scholarship as well. So maybe I should have just waited
It
a
was
little.
worth the wait anyway in the end. But do you feel like there was a lot of? Did you think in your head like there's a lot of risk of me leaving school early, or did you not even think about it at all?
Well, Brendan, I wasn't really great at school. You know, I wasn't really smart. You know, I was just okay. And that's the kind of thing that the head teacher said to us. He said, look, you're okay at school, your grades are all right, but are they going to get better in a year? And that's what he said to us. I was like, if I'm being honest, probably not. He's like, well, that's the risk that I want to take for you and that you and your dad want to take for yourself. So it was kind of like, look, go and have an extra year experience playing football with men. And look, school will take care of itself if it doesn't happen. So
Mhm.
I'm fully thankful of obviously my school and my head teacher and of Joe Joyce, the academy, and of letting us leave school and come in a year early. And I'd 100% still say now that that's got us to where I am today. You know, becoming a man so early. So I'd
Mhm.
definitely say that.
Yeah, you can tell how important like the decision with your head teacher and your dad was, and that you're very, very fortunate to kind of have that, because a lot of parents and also head teachers would be very kind of against that. They'd be like, no, no, education is really important. Like it's like the stereotypical thing. No, you need to get education. You need to go to university. You need to do that. But I think people saw the potential in you a lot early, which also probably give you a bit of confidence to the fact that they're even saying, right, you've got this opportunity, go and fucking do it. Like,
Yeah,
don't even waste any time. There wasn't any doubt in their mind or like in your dad's mind, or like, in that kind of passed over to yourself to
yeah,
not give you that doubt, which then obviously give you a massive confidence. Obviously, playing against like training with lads who are 2-3 years older than you
yeah,
every single day, having that over a 1 year period, 2 year period, and especially when a lot of lads your age aren't getting that experience, they're still at school, they're
yeah.
still only training with their age group. They like stand you in, like obviously it's helped you progress really, really well.
Touched on it there.
When was
I was
oh
sorry,
go on,
mate.
sorry mate, go on.
You know, I was obviously dead fortunate what you just said there. Like obviously for me leaving early it's harsh as well for you lads, because I know that I'm training every day with all the lads and people my age, my mates who I've grew up with like yourself or at school. It's kind of like that's where I'm fortunate, you know. That's where a bit of luck as well, you know. If I didn't have a head teacher who trusted us, and obviously Joe Joyce at the academy who would let us do it, you know, like you said before, a lot of schools would be like, no chance. He ain't leaving school here early. you can maybe do 2 days a week at football, but he ain't not coming back to school. So, like you said, you're touching it there, mate. Very fortunate I was back then, and had the opportunity that some lads didn't have. I mean, I don't know if it got us to the extra level as quick, but like you said, it's definitely paid off for us at that age. Well, I thought it did, and it's worked, mate. So
Yeah,
happy days.
it's probably the fact that you're getting forced like out your comfort zone a little bit, because obviously your age group's very much your comfort zone. Even maybe playing 1 year above, because you were kind of exposed to that quite young. It's probably
Yeah.
in your comfort zone, but again, leaving school, which is like shit, like there's a lot of pressure on me now, and then getting thrown into like reserves, under 18s every single day with two lads, 2, 3, even like maybe 5 years older than you if you're getting trained with reserves, getting forced into that environment straight away, probably like it almost makes that the norm earlier on. Whereas when I'm leaving school at 16, going full time at 17, the norm for me is training with my age group, not training with the other lads. And like obviously you've had that extra year, and the norm for you is, oh, I'm training with reserves every day. This is normal. Like, and then when you come back with us, it's like, this is a piece of piss. This is no pressure kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you touch on it there about like what it would be like for us lads when you're leaving school. Like I remember when Freddie came in, and obviously he was full time and I found it so frustrating, the fact that I knew he was getting trained daily kind of thing, especially with the like first team reserves, like academy kind of setup. I was like, he's getting, even when I was injured as well, like I was just thinking the amount of extra days that you lads are getting kind of thing, which is nothing against you, because like I didn't like hate you for it, but it's just frustrating for myself.
Well,
like,
I would have been the
obviously,
same. Yeah, I would have been the same.
just
Doing well, I'll be like, how's he getting the chance and I'm not? Like,
yeah, it's
it
almost
was
like
tough. Yeah.
it's not like an unfair advantage, but it is in a sense, because I felt like I was doing right. Obviously, I had my injuries and stuff like that as well, but I felt like I was doing all right. But there was nothing I could really do about it, in a sense, because I hadn't been offered that opportunity. I couldn't really go in and say, why aren't I doing this? And especially, it's another thing to talk about, like young lads coming to coaches and saying about things, because I was never the type of person to do that. I didn't think I had it in me until I got a bit older and kind of got the confidence, but I was never kind of felt like I had the right to say that. It was one of them things that they had to come to you and say, like, right, now we want to take you to the next level. So when was your first taste of first team training? How old were you? First ever session.
I think I was 15. Obviously, we had college days, didn't we, when we got into football on Wednesday, every Wednesday. But obviously, for me being a year earlier, obviously I was with older kids, and obviously I think I was with the likes of Smithy, Quinny back in the day, Alex Gilliard. You know, it was weird. I was just sitting in the classroom. I remember the first day on the Wednesday, and obviously we'd never trained on the Wednesday, and I think it might have been Dave Watson came in and was like, Arma, can you come here? Like in front of everyone, in front of the class. And like I went outside. He's like, oh yeah, you need to go at the top end because you're training with the first team. And I was like, whoa, like just shocked straight away. Like so much pressure. All of this training that you've led up to is today. Like everything you've led up to, you know, the hard work. I'm about to train with the first team. Like couldn't believe it. Everything was just a blur by putting my boots on, running up to the top end. It was just come so quick, and like you said, to get that moment at 15 to train with the first team was like, wow, this is what I've wanted. You know, I wasn't a shy kid. I wasn't like, right, I'm gonna hide now. I'm not gonna get on the ball. I'm not gonna speak to people. I'm gonna like, obviously, you had the likes of Stephen Taylor, Tim Krul, and Ryan Taylor, the likes of them, Paul Dummett, who just took us in straight away on the first session. I thought this is crazy, you know, and to have them sessions with the likes of obviously Ben Arthur and people like that was like, wow, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And you know, from having that session, kind of just being like, well, I don't want to play with these older kids anymore. I want to be with the first team. I don't want to be training with 2 or 3 years like the reserves and the 18s. I want to be first team. I've had a taste of it now. I want to be there every day, and that was kind of my attitude coming back into the 18s football and into the 23s. It was like, right, I need to perform again to just keep training with the first team. And luckily enough, I had that, and had that with Pardew, who got on really well with us and give us that opportunity.
Yeah. So you got like, again, that mentality kind of thing that like you need to maintain a certain level, that you can't drop back down to the under 18 mentality or level, because you've been up there, you need to stay up there. Like whether it's dropping back down, playing a few games to the 18, but you need to score a hat trick, or you need to score 2 goals, or you need to get 2 assists, kind of thing. You can obviously tell that you had that in your head. And obviously you mentioned about, I forgot that like phrase, the top end. I remember when someone used to like George Joyce or like goalkeeper coach Chris Tapeque or someone used to come in and say, right, Ben, yeah, we need you at the top end in half an hour's time. You'd be like, oh, you get that like I'd get that little sickly feeling, but it's a good feeling, that nerves. But I think some lads get them nerves and deal with them in certain ways. Like there's lads who we played with who you can tell when they're on the ball, they're just so nervous. But then like, I talked to Sean about it last week. When he was playing with the 23s and the 18s and stuff, he just felt like it was a piece of piss. Like in his mind, he wasn't really like nervous in any sort of way. And he was talking about when he obviously played for the first team against Man City, he looked at Aguero's boots and he said, like, he looked at his boots and said, they're just normal boots that you can buy from like Sports Direct. Like he's nothing special, kind of thing. It's that mentality, like finding ways to make things seem normal. Whereas like, I think I've got quite bad anxiety for football in them sort of situations. Like there was times I had good days, sometimes I had bad days, but I think everyone deals with it differently. So you were obviously, your mentality was obviously, right, I've got this opportunity, I'm not going to hide, I'm going to go and show myself. Yeah. Where do you think that came from? Do you think like just because you were kind of always put in them situations from a young age, do you feel like that's why you had that mentality? Was it something that your dad was always big on, or?
I think my dad drilled it into us, but I think growing up as well, obviously I touched on it before, by having a winning mentality straight away through boys club. Obviously my manager, Colin Witherspoon, who was brilliant at the time, he was just constantly wants to win. And at that age group is massive now. You wouldn't get that now, I don't think. I don't think you'd go back to an under 8s or under 9s and be like, go and watch a session and everyone's just constantly the high intensity. You want to win. I don't think it would be like that now. But like I said, I was lucky enough to have that winning mentality growing up and wanted to work hard. I always got put in different situations where I need to perform. I always had to be the best. Like you said, growing up, I had different obstacles come across. You know, obviously playing with taller lads, I had to stand out every day, every session. It was hard. You know, and like you said, I had that from as soon as I had that first training session with the first team. It was kind of like, right, this is where I want to be. This is what I've worked so hard for. This is what I've come out a year early for school for. This is it. Like, this is where I want to be. Like, I had that opportunity so early, and I kind of just took it from there, mate, and had the right people around us and the right mates, like for yourself and obviously the other lads in the group. They weren't like, they weren't dead bitter, you know. I wasn't coming back down speaking to you and be like, oh, Arma's a dickhead now, like he's been with the first team. It was kind of like, yous are still my mates. It was still like, you know what, Arma's still here, like he hasn't changed, kind of thing. And I think growing up, I think you see a lot of people who go big time, who have trained with the first team, that come back down and be like, oh, I'm better than all yous, you know. And I never had that attitude. I was never thought I was better than anyone else. In my mind I did, but I didn't express that. Do you know what I mean? I didn't be a dick around my mates or nothing. And I think that's kind of got us to where I am today. And hopefully everyone still thinks, oh, he's a likable kid, and that's what I want to be known for, you know.
Yeah. I think you do have to have that ego, but like you need to have it in your own head. You need to have that ego in terms of, yeah, I'm the fucking best player here. Like I'm gonna go out there and prove why I'm the best player here. But you've also got to be down to earth. Like, is it like you see now? Like you've came on the podcast, and we haven't spoken what, like 3 years. I can't remember the last time we spoke. The same with Sean. I done last week, and there's been a few other lads who I've messaged and heard nothing. Or they've opened the message and not replied. It's kind of like it is easy to kind of let things go to your head and think that, like, obviously, like I said before, you can think that you're better than people, but you've got to still be down to earth. You've got to be friendly with people. You can't, just because you think you're better than someone doesn't mean that you're not going to go and speak to them, kind of thing. And which for young footballers is something that probably a lot of lads need to learn, especially I think the club that we had, because everyone was local. Like I said, it wasn't too bad, but when you go to the Man Cities, Man United, Arsenal's, like even like big clubs like that, there's probably a lot more egos in there. And I don't know. I've never been to them, so I don't know what the lads are like. They might all be sound, but there probably is a lot more egos, and maybe lads don't speak to you because he's in my position and I'm better than him. I'm not going to go and speak to him, sort of thing. Yeah. So being able to control that ego, which I'll touch on as well. Obviously, you getting into the first team at a young age, there's probably a lot. It's probably is very easy for you to let it get to your head and kind of even going out in public and thinking, oh, I'm the man, kind of thing. I'm only 16, 17. I'm with the first team, and all my mates are don't know, doing apprenticeships or they've gone to college and stuff like that, you can kind of pile them off in a sense. So what was it like for you? Obviously, was it your debut? You were 17, if I'm not correct.
17, yeah, 17. Just
I
turned
remember
17.
actually. I remember seeing it on Twitter, and I texted you straight afterwards. It was Fulham, wasn't it? I think it was Fulham.
Yeah.
First of all, what was that like in terms of, don't know, getting told that you're in the squad firstly, and then also coming off the bench?
Crazy. I had a taste of it a couple of weeks before that. We had a cup game against Morecambe, and I was away with England at the time, and I remember my England coach coming up to us and being like, "Oh man, I need to speak to you," and I was thinking, "This is weird. Like, what's going on? Like, an England coach would never say that." And he was like, "I've had Pardew on the phone. Like, he wants you to go to Morecambe to be in the squad." And I was just like, "What? Like, I've just been called up for England. I'm going for the first team, Newcastle." So I went to meet them, and obviously I was in the change rooms, and I remember Pardew pulling us aside and be like, "Look, I just wanted to show you like how well you've been doing. I'm not going to put you on the bench today, but I want you to sit and watch and experience everything in the changing rooms, how we work." And from then was just crazy. I was on the bench against Norwich the week after, and then I think it was a couple of weeks after made my debut against Fulham. I remember just running along the sideline, warming up, and I think it was John Carver shouting down the line, like, as in, like, say, "Come here." But there was three of us warming up, so I was like, he's definitely not waving at me, like, because I can't remember who was next to us at the time, but anyway, so I was like, "Me," and he's like, "Yeah, you." So I was like sprinting down the line, thinking, "Wow, this is mental." It was just a rush of blood, like, didn't even think about it, just put my shin pads on, and I was on, like, that was it. And like I said, I had a few nice touches straight away, so that kind of got us into the game, and I think I had a few shots in that, but unluckily enough, I think we got beat that game 1-0, and from there, that was kind of the kickstart, really, and that was kind of where I was training with the first team every day, and in their change room, and it was crazy, and the feeling, I can't say how good it was. You know, it was to be a local lad making your debut in front of all the away end was crazy, and they were all singing my name, and like I said, it's still owed them massively. I owe Pardew massively for giving us my debut, and I'll never forget that moment ever.
Mm-hmm. Newcastle fans love a local lad coming on as well, don't they? They absolutely love a local lad coming on, which probably does help you quite a bit and give you the confidence that they're shouting the name. But do you feel there was anything, like, I don't know if you did some mental preparation or anything like psychologically that you think, anything that helps you kind of deal with the pressure? Because obviously coming on when you're a young lad, was it on TV? I don't know if it was on TV or anything like that. Like that sort of pressure, even just being in front of Craven Cottage, maybe like 30,000 people or something. I don't know how many's there. Like, is there anything that you do or in your head that you think about in even any high pressure situations?
It's no, mate, not really. It's weird. Like, I've always had that mindset of just like focus on yourself. Like, I've always had that. I don't know where it's come from. Maybe it's obviously my dad growing up, and I never ever cared what people think. Like, touch on again, growing up, being always the littlest one. Back in my mind, I cared about it, but I didn't express it. I didn't moan about it. And it's the same for fans. Like, obviously, there's so much pressure on a young lad coming on and making his debut, and everyone's thinking, "Oh, he's the next big thing." Like, so much pressure on him to do big things now, and I just never really took it in. I never really, all the negatives I never took in. I just got on with my life and got on with my mates and my family, and it kept us grounded and kept us like, "Look, focus on yourself, and you'll get there. You'll get there one day." And kind of like, this is mental, and touch on it then. And I never really, like I said, I never really take the negatives. I never really get down about it. And mentally, I'm always quite stable, I think. But like I said, as you get older and you start playing games every week, then that's when the pressure starts. Like, I was still a young lad coming on from the bench. Like, I wasn't starting. I didn't have that pressure of like, right, I need to perform from the minute go. Every time I come on for Newcastle, I feel like there was never any pressure on us because we were either getting beat or I just came on for the last 10 minutes. Like, there was no pressure. Like, that's how I felt. And I think I showed that on the pitch. I never shied away from the ball. And I never, I was always wanted to make something happen, and I'm still like that today. So
yeah. So what was it like when was your first starting debut? And at home, especially at St James's, when was your first?
I never started at St James's. It was weird. It was funny. My first start was Was it the cup game? Right, the cup game. I think it was either Crystal Palace away in the cup,
Hmm.
or it was Man U away on Boxing Day.
That's a big one. That's
And
a big one.
that was crazy. Like I
Yeah,
remember.
what was that like then the night before then?
Oh mate, I remember Pardew pulling us 3 days before the
Yeah.
game. It was like, Adam, you're gonna start against Man U on Boxing Day, and I was just nodding my head to him. I was like, oh, like yeah, all right, sound. Went away, and the night before, mate, like the day before Christmas, I couldn't eat my Christmas dinner. I was like, I'm so nervous. That was the very first time I've been like, shit, like
Hmm.
Old Trafford, Man U, like probably the best team in the world at the time. I was like, is this mental? And I just honestly, mate, I couldn't eat my food. We travelled on Christmas night. Obviously, got a private plane down to Manchester. Like that was my first taste of it, and that's when the pressure started. That's when I was like, right, you're gonna have to perform. Like, but then again, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I've always performed. I've always been good at performing. I've always done well, and he's put this pressure on me. But I'm gonna show you that I'm capable of playing. And like I said, I think we ended up getting beat 3-1. But I done pretty well. Came off in the 70th minute, and like you said, from there I just kicked on again. Just kept playing and doing well. So
Yeah.
brilliant.
I always felt like when I got nervous before games, especially when I got told like a big game, maybe like I think I got told for I remember the FA Youth Cup game, that was my under 18 debut. I never played for the 18s until the FA against Barnsley
Yeah,
away
yeah,
at their
man.
place, and I remember I got told about a week and a half before that I was going to be playing, and obviously I hadn't even played a friendly for under 18s, man. I only played under 16s. I think it was my first year scholar, and I think Freddie and who else was, I can't remember. There was another keeper there who played most of the games, so I never played. But I remember like it was like a mental battle with myself. Like there was times I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna play. I'm like I'm gonna make a mistake. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But then it was like, no, like you're good enough, and it was just kind of like up and down, like
Yeah.
for the mental battle with myself for the week up and coming to it, and then it's kind of one of them things when you're in the game, you kind of especially when you get your first touch for the ball, you kind of forget
Yeah.
about it. Was it a kind of sort of similar thing to you, kind of mental battle up and down, or was it kind of you always just had the confidence?
No, I always had the confidence, but I was still shit me pants in the back of my head. Do you know what I mean? Like every touch matters. Do you know what I mean? Like my first touch was, I still remember it. I remember Johnny Evans marking us, getting right up my arse straight away, and I thought, wow, this is so different to 23s, 18s football. Like this is intense. Um, and from then, really, that's when I kind of knew that I had to be on my game every second. Like no matter whether it was a 5 yard pass or a big diag, like everything had to be perfect. And from then, I kind of think like you've just got to keep working hard every day, like which I did anyway. Growing up, I did work hard every day, but that was a real first taste of first team football, being like, right, you've seen how well these cope and how well mentally they cope. Like I had to take advice off people like that, and like I said, mentally, it didn't really affect us as much. Like losing the ball and people getting on us and being the youngest player to play, it was like I've just got to just keep getting on with it and just take things how it comes really and keep performing when I can.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it is. Like football's a massive mental game, which we'll touch on. Obviously, dealing with the kind of mental side of being consistent, especially in the league that you are playing now, playing like league football. There's a lot of games you have to be mentally prepared and be switched on for every single game. So obviously you had your time a little bit with the first team, and I think you were kind of playing 23s most of the time, and then you're out. And then
right.
you went on loan to Coventry, which I
Yeah.
remember. I remember seeing it. I was watching and having breakfast and stuff and seeing it on Sky Sports, and you were banging. Did you score a hat trick on your debut? I can't remember what it was, but you had a decent, good run
Uh,
in the start. The
I,
start of the.
scored. I scored two on my debut, 1-2-1, and then I scored the two the week after. And then
Mhm.
mate, I just kept on scoring. Like it was crazy. I was like, I kind of just took that mentality from getting on with the first team, like getting on every 10 minutes or whatever it was, and then playing 23s, scoring. I kind of took that 23s football and coming on from the first team, I kind of took that confidence into Coventry. I was like, I knew it was obviously men's football week in, week out, like points, every point mattered. Like people are playing for the win bonuses, people are playing for their lives, people are playing to pay their mortgages. That's what I learned from Coventry, from men's football. And I kind of just took that 23s mentality of just playing football. Like, there's no pressure, which there wasn't at 23s. And I took that into my first game at Coventry. I just took it into a normal game. Like, but then as it got on, it was like, right, your goals are mattering to every player, to the fans, everything, you know. And kind of took that experience was amazing. And to play 40 odd games at 17, 18 was huge. And obviously I scored quite a lot of goals as well, which helped us in my career now. So
Yeah.
like I said, I went from that 23s football to first team quite quick. And like I said, I could have shied away from it and been like, whoa, this is too much, but I kind of dealt with it pretty well, and had a good season at Coventry, so it was brilliant.
Yeah. Did you find it mentally hard? Obviously, we think pretty much 2 games a week all the time. Did you find it mentally hard? Obviously, like dealing with the highs and lows of the 2 games in a week and mentally preparing for it, or did it kind of like? Did you feel like it was maybe a little bit tough to start, and then you got into just like a rhythm and got used to it in a sense? How did you find
Um,
it?
yeah, well, like you said, it kind of took us back to being 12, 13, training every night, like training 3 times a week, but that's all I knew still growing up. Like, that's playing football every day. I wanted to have more games at that age. I was like, now I'm a bit like, oh, 2 games a week, it's getting a bit much. Like, but now it's like, back then it was just like, right, you're playing 2 games a week. Like, it's a lot, you know. But you kind of understand when you grow up and you come through first team football, it's like your recovery is important and it's so well drilled into you. Whilst back at 23s, 18s, the fitness side wasn't really huge, was it? And
Yeah.
recovery sort of stuff, and it was kind of first team football where you get that, right, you need to recover, right, you're having the day off here, you're having a day off there, you're recovering every day. It's mentally, I kind of coped with it all right at the start, and it kind of got a lot better during the season, knowing that I was playing 2 games a week. And like you said, mentally, I took that well as it got on. But straight away, it was kind of like, oh, 2 games a week, like against men, it was kind of like, this is tough, this is hard. But towards the end, I coped with it well, I think.
Yeah. Is there anything you do outside of football to help you kind of switch off from it and relax mentally? Anything that you do outside?
Um, no, not really. I just kind of just chill out, you know. I just try and get my mind off it. That's what I've learned from playing week in, week out. Every game matters. The pressure's so much, mate, on weekdays and on game days. And when you come home, I don't want to come home to my missus and be like just so moody and miserable, you know, just sitting on the sofa, not speaking to her. And I kind of picked that up from an early age. I didn't want to constantly be mad with my dad and my mum and my brother, and I didn't want to. I kind of just switched off straight away, mate, as soon as the game finished. Obviously, you have in the change rooms, be disappointed, be upset you got beat, but as soon as you're out the stadium, time to switch off, like time to go again the next day. You know, you got that day off and that rest to kind of recover and see your mates, you know, and kind of forget about football for a bit. And that's what I've learned in loads growing up, like playing week in, week out, to forget about the pressure and let the pressure come when you're training all week. Like on a Saturday, the pressure's so much. Just after it, relax. Like the
Yeah.
pressure's low, mate. So I would say that, yeah, just switch off from football and kind of just chill out. Don't think about it
Yeah.
too much. Then it does get mentally tough when you're constantly thinking, "Oh, should have made that pass. Oh, I should have shot then. Could have scored there. Should have scored there." Fans are getting on us. Like, you got to switch off, mate. Otherwise, you just drive yourself mentally mad.
Yeah.
So
I think I did that a lot when I was younger, especially with mistakes I'd made. They'd like be looped in my head before I would be going to sleep. Even the next day I'd loop. But kind of the older I got, a little bit better I got of it. But you can take that into like real life in anything. Like with what I'm doing at the minute, my brain's constantly working. But you need to kind of give yourself even just one day off completely. Now I try and have Saturdays to at least like switch off. Like I do the football on the Saturday, but then the night time I'm just like not even thinking about anything. I try not to use my phone. I try and switch off completely, which I think
yeah,
is hard, and especially with football, because most of the lads who play football have been passionate about football since they were like 4 or 5 years old, and it's literally you get home after a game on a Saturday and football's on TV, and Sunday football's on TV, kind of thing. It's everywhere, and I think I learned to kind of I needed when I was playing full time to completely switch off from it because it's intense, especially when you're training. and then you're doing like analysis and stuff in the afternoon, or that you're doing watching your clips back, and and you're constantly when it's like work, you're just constant football, and when you get home, you don't want to be watching football. And like, I always found that I was better when I switched off. Obviously, I'd watch like the Champions League and the big games like that, but I'd try and watch it as a spectator. But even then, your brain's still thinking like, it's like for me, I'm not going to keep it and think, oh, look at his position in there. Like there is, you just need to have time away from it. Like whether it's like go and play golf, go out with your mates. Obviously, some lads go on like nights out and stuff like that, which every so often I don't feel is a bad thing. You need it. Obviously, when the season's intense and you're having 2 games a week, you need time to recover. So it's probably not a good idea, but you need time to completely switch off. Because it is, I can imagine it being very mentally draining, especially at your kind of level where there is a lot of pressure on yourself. Do you think about it a lot in terms of like going into a game? Maybe there's like you're against a team who's kind of maybe in like playoff places, or maybe when in your time where you're close to the relegation zone, you're like, right, we need these 3 points, or else we're in trouble here, or we need these 3 points, and now we're going to be in a better position. Do you ever think about that, or do you just go into a game and kind of think, right, it is another game, and we just need to win, and I just need to do my best?
Yeah, I've always went into games just thinking about myself and my team, just thinking, right, put on the best performance you can because you need the 3 points. But in the little bits on the side, go along with that anyway. You know, you've got the gaffer and the coaching staff all talking about it, saying, "Oh, you need to win." Like, it's kind of hard, you know. You need to take that pressure off. We had a few instances last season where we were near the playoffs, mate, like 3 points off it, and the pressure just got too much for us. I think, you know, we just kind of just couldn't get there. You know, we was so close and just couldn't quite get in there. But like you said, it's a lot of lads take pressure differently. You know, we've got a lot of lads who see psychologists, and you know, who don't take the pressure too well. And like I said, I've seen that a lot in football now. I've seen a lot of people break down, and because it is tough, mate. It's very tough. You know, everything matters. And like you said, I've been lucky enough to have the right people around us. You know, obviously my missus and my family and my friends. I've been lucky enough to kind of just switch off from football when I'm not playing. You know, you see lads struggle, but thankfully I'm the one who takes it all right. I think I'd like to think so. Anyway.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you've been close to kind of like struggle? Maybe you've had like a bad run of games, or maybe you're in and out the team, not performing how you want to perform. Is there any times you've been like that?
Not really, mate. I've always been like, when I'm not playing, I'm always like, I'll show you why I'm not playing. Do you know what I mean? The next day, I'll show you why I should be playing, and that's kind of what I've been all my life, mate. I've kind of like just wanted to prove people wrong, and I've never been dead salty when I'm not playing. I've never been a dick. I've never like, it's not in my nature. And kind of just get on with it, mate. And just like I said, when I'm not playing, when I'm in and out of the team, it is hard to take, and you see people struggle, and it's hard. You know, it's a hard life, and like you said, it's tough decisions. You know, the gaffer's got to make a decision on whether you're playing or not. His job's on the line, you know, and that's kind of what I've realised growing up. You know, coming into men's football, it's like every little thing matters. Even in training, mate, if you want to try and in training, if you're just fucking about in training, not making a good pass or not working hard, everyone's on to you. You know, that's kind of how I want it to be. I don't want it to be easy oozy, you know, just training every day, not wanting to get better. You know, I'm still 23. I want to get better. I want to be at the top, you know. And like you said, some lads are different, but thankfully enough, again, I've got the right people around us and to keep switched on and just keep wanting it.
Yeah, you can tell you've got the hunger kind of thing, and like you said, a lot of lads do get comfortable, like even at a certain level, like maybe even the first professional contract, or maybe they've had a good season. Like they've probably had that hunger at the start of the season, going through the whole season, had a decent season, got to the summer, they've got another contract, and they're thinking, you know what, I'm happy here. I'm kind of just, I'll keep myself ticking over, and then I'll get another contract, and I'll just keep at this level. But to have that kind of mentality to keep yourself going, because in football it is so easy because you're getting good money. Like it's stupid money at football for what you're doing, kind of thing. And if you kind of have maybe 1 or 2 good seasons and you get a decent contract somewhere, you can just cruise it. And there's lads who get like 5-6 year contracts places on good money, and they kind of just
take it easy.
They get out the team, they're not asked. They're just like, it doesn't really bother me. And then it gets to 5 years and my contract's up because of what I've done in the past, and because of my agent, I'll get another team and I'll do the same thing, sort of thing. So that's the thing that frustrates me about football. Like that can happen. But I think going through kind of different like periods in football, kind of even dropping down levels, kind of makes you realize how fortunate you are. Which is one thing that's taught me. Like, if I ever got that opportunity again, I wouldn't take it for granted, kind of thing. Which is something like any young footballers that I like coach or like train or anything like that, I always say to them. I've had a few during lockdown. I say to them, like, don't get comfortable at playing 23s football. Don't get comfortable playing under 18s. Yes, you've got a 2-year professional contract, but that 2 years will fly by very, very quickly. And at the end of it, like the position I'm in, like I struggled to get a team after I got a team, but then injuries and stuff broke down. And then I'm at where I am today. And there's other lads who get contracts and I know aren't playing at all anymore. And they're doing, I don't know, like engineering or something. I don't know. And it's a complete reality hit. And I speak to them now and they're like, I know, it's like, I didn't see myself doing it. So like you're very fortunate. You've had that mentality. You've had the people around you and you've just kicked on. And you're right where you're at today, which is like a big lesson for a lot of lads. If there's any young footballers or anybody in any sort of career, like never get complacent, never get kind of stuck at a certain level. Yeah, keep on pushing forward. So obviously after Coventry, you had a few loan spells. You had, was it Barnsley and Bolton? And then obviously you went to Blackburn after, obviously at the end, and ended up signing. What was the difference in kind of level? Because you jumped up a league, and also was there a difference in terms of your experience at the different clubs compared to obviously Coventry?
Yeah, well, like you said, I went from Coventry, who were in League One. Then the season after, that was probably the toughest time, mate, because it was like Newcastle. That was the year Newcastle got relegated to the Championship.
Yeah.
Obviously, I found it so hard, mate, that they wanted us to go on loan to another Championship club. Like at that stage, I just didn't get it. I was like, because they stopped us from going like to teams that were in and around Newcastle at the time. So I think at the time I played the first 4 games, I think, under Benitez. I came on as sub. And then that's when they said, oh, we want you to go on loan. But you can only go on loan to certain clubs in the Championship. At the time, I remember it was like Wigan, Barnsley, I think maybe in Sheffield Wednesday. It was like, but those other clubs interested, like higher up, that they wouldn't let us go to. And I was like, well, it was weird. I was like, I found that so mentally hard to take. I was like, you're stopping me from going to better clubs because you're in the same division. Like, why can't you just keep me here and I'll prove to you why I can play in this league? And it was kind of like, when I had to go on loan to Barnsley, and obviously I look back at Barnsley and think I had a great time. I met some great people, and I don't know right there, mate. I played 30, I think it was 36 games. I think I scored 8 or 9 goals. You know, it wasn't great, but like I said, it was having that playing week in, week out with Coventry to being in and out of the team, Barnsley, you know, everything jumping up to the Championship. And like I said, I coped with it well at the time. But then again, mate, it's like, it was tough to take, you know, not being in the team one week, playing the other week, having a good run, then getting took out of the team. And, you know, it was just, obviously different managers made everyone has different opinions. And it was the same with Bolton when I went to Bolton. That was another tough loan, mate. I think I only stayed there till January. Got to the club, mate. I met with a manager. I think it was Parkinson at the time. Met him on pre-season with Newcastle. Met him in Scotland or Ireland. I think it was Ireland. He came to the hotel. My agent was like, "Look, the manager of Bolton wants to meet you." Said everything. Sold us a dream to come to Bolton. You know, he said everything right. You're going to play up front. Like, you're going to be the main man. As soon as I got there, it was just the complete opposite. Like, playing on the wing, like, just wasn't the same. Like, you just sold as a lie, really. And that I kind of struggled at Bolton because I didn't play every week. You know, Bolton got promoted that year, so he had his favourites in the team from that year. You know, who got him there, which was I had nothing against. You know, they done so well to get you to the Championship, and like you said, he had his favourites, and that was probably the hardest spell. You know, not being in the squad, and that was the first time I was never playing. You know, I was like getting left out of the squads and stuff, and I was thinking, wow, this is crazy. And like you said, I only stayed there till January, and that was mentally tough at the time. And like you said, I had the right people around us at the time to think, look, Adam, you're still a great player. You know, you're still yourself. And like you said, I had that chance to go to Blackburn, and look where I am now. It's probably the best thing that's happened.
Yeah. this is yet again like another little kind of not a barrier, like a little hurdle to jump over kind of thing. A lot of lads could have just kept kind of got their head like down, looking at the ground, kept on going like a downward slope and saying, right, maybe I'm not good enough to go to this level. But again, the mentality kind of shows through. And then you've obviously went to Blackburn and kicked on, and you're playing week in, week out there. But what was it like leaving Newcastle? Because you went on loan to Blackburn, came to the end of the season, then you obviously signed for them. What was that like? Was it a little bit kind of sad? It's like an end of an era in a sense, being there for so long.
Yeah, but
it
was. But I still feel I never had a proper chance at Newcastle. You know, I never once had 2 or 3 games on the bounce where I started. Like I never had that opportunity. But look, I thank everything that's happened there. You know, I have got no bad words to say about it. But like you said, it was hard leaving. You know, your boys club, who you grew up loving. The opportunity came, mate, where Blackburn wanted to buy us, and it was one of them. Was I going to play at Newcastle at the time? I wasn't quite sure. And like I said, I think for me, it's probably been the best decision that I've made. It could have went the other way, mate. It could have went, oh, I should have stayed at Newcastle. Like I could have just stayed in the squads, and maybe he's not as played as much. But mate, I think I'm 23, mate. I think I've played over 200 games now, and that's what I want, mate. That's what I want. I want to be playing week in, week out. I want to keep playing, keep getting better. And last season I had a really good season, and like I said, I've just got to keep that going and get to the top.
Yeah. How important in your kind of, I don't know, decision or in terms of confidence, was it that like a team actually wanted to come in and buy you rather than obviously having Newcastle where you were like in and out the team, like they weren't giving you a definite answer and saying like, right, we want you in 2 years' time to be our number one striker. We want you to play every week in, week out. That you didn't have that, but whereas Blackburn obviously came in and said like, we want to buy you. We actually want you. How much of a confidence boost is that when a team actually gives you that kind of that thought?
Yeah, huge, mate. Like to know a club wants you and wants to buy you was amazing. You know, I never knew. I knew nothing else. You know, I was playing for Newcastle. Like that's all I knew. And obviously going on loan and stuff, I knew I was still a Newcastle player. So it was kind of like, oh, I've done well for you, but I'm still a Newcastle player. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, to get a club who actually wants you and the fans love you and everyone wants you to become a part of their club was kind of like, well, I can't turn that down, you know. And I've got every good way to say about Newcastle, every good thing to say about Blackburn. Like it's worked out so well, mate, and I've got to just keep grounded still because I know I'm still young and I've just got to keep working hard and keep putting performances on, really.
Yeah, because that was one thing I found. Like when I left Newcastle and I went on trial places and I went when I was playing in Scotland, kind of thing. I never felt one. I just felt like I was kind of there. Like maybe when I first went on trial places, the first maybe few days they were like, right, we want you. This is what we see. This is what we want from you in the next few years. This is what we're looking for, and we think you're going to be perfect for it. But then as the time kind of passes, I kind of felt like it faded, and I kind of just felt like a spare part. Whereas at the minute where I'm playing training at the minute, I kind of feel wanted in a sense, and it gives me a confidence boost. Like I've never felt like so confident going on the pitch, sort of thing, playing at the minute compared to have. I remember when I went to Scotland, I was playing at Morton. It was the worst I've ever played. Like I was looking back, I was like, how was like last year? I was at Newcastle and I was training every single day with the first team. I was doing this, that, and the other. I was in the squads for a few things. Like, how was I doing that like two years ago? And I'm here now and I kind of kick a ball straight on the pitch. I literally couldn't kick a ball, couldn't kick a goal kick on the pitch. It was 3 in a row in a game. I was like, what? Like mentally just completely gone. Have you ever had like a little period like that where these things haven't went well?
Yeah, man. It's hard, you know, like when things don't happen for you, especially as a striker, you know, every practice to get a goal or get an assist, or like it's hard when you're not doing that. It's like, oh, this is hard. But I've always had that mentality, mate. Like I said, a winning mentality from young, and I've always wanted to do well, and I never really let it get to us. You know, I missed a few shots. It's not it's not the end of the world. You know, it's not like you've got another. You know, you might have 10 chances and miss, but that one chance you get, you score. You know, it's and you win the game, get 3 points. You know, it's hard for a striker, but like you said, you've just got to keep going with it, and things will happen for you. You know, it's the same for offsides. Keep making runs and you're offside. Keep making runs, and that one run you're not offside, you go through and score. You know, it's kind of just got to take everything as it comes and keep working hard.
Yeah, you've got to have some resilience, like to be like an athlete in any sport. It's just got to be mental resilience because you're gonna have more setbacks than you're not gonna have positives, really. But the positives are gonna always outweigh the setbacks. But
Definitely.
like you said, there's so many lads that mentally can struggle with it, with even just the littlest of setback, that it can just knock the confidence and you can just go downhill. But you can see from, like I said before, with your mentality and how you've always been hungry, you've had that resilience, and you've always had the opportunities, which you've been very fortunate for, but you've always took them. You've never shied away from them, which is something a lot of young lads, even all the footballers and stuff, can, or anybody in general, can kind of take forward
Yeah.
and learn from, definitely. So we'll finish off with the three questions, which I know you've had a little look at, which I've been asking everybody. So 3 questions. The first one is 3 people that you would like to invite round for dinner or go out for a coffee with. Past or present as well. I always forget to mention that, past or present.
Yeah, it's a good one. That I'd have to go Messi.
Yeah.
I'm a big golf fan, so I'd definitely have Tiger Woods there,
Yeah.
and I'd also bring Conor McGregor. I think he'd have a lot of stories, you know, a lot of good things, and obviously there's 3 legends, isn't it? 3 legends of the sports, and
Yeah.
I'd definitely be a bit of banter, wouldn't it? So it'd be great.
Conor McGregor would bring a bit of banter. Like he'd be nuts to have around your house. It would never be the same again if you had him around. You'd absolutely tear it up. A solid 3. So next one, 3 people you want to train with. So it can be obviously football related, or because obviously you have a fitness background, you can do gym related as well if you want to go to the gym with someone.
Same again, mate. I'd want to train with Messi, like to see, just to see it in person, mate, of how good he is and natural talent. To train with as well, I'd probably say Cristiano Ronaldo, another one.
Yeah.
He's kind of like been different to Messi, hasn't he? He always gets compared with each other, but Ronaldo's kind of had to prove himself, and he like is in like coming up, not having natural talent and working his way up. While Messi's always had it. I would like to see how they train differently, and I'd probably say Wayne Rooney as well. I loved him as a kid, mate. Like still do now. You know, he's in the same division as me
Yeah.
now. So, he's just obviously similar to me. He made his debut at a young age, and he's just got the top, mate. And I would love to see how he trains, how intense he trains, and what he's all about. So I'd probably say them 3.
Yeah, so see, you were always compared to Rooney at a young age. I remember that. You're always compared. Better looking though, by far better looking.
Just about.
But I'm going to say, our next question, who are you saying, Messi or Ronaldo? Because this is the big debate. Everyone always compares them.
Mate, it's one of the. I'm Messi, mate. Like the things he does, mate, is just crazy. But how can you then say Ronaldo's nowhere near him? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the stuff Ronaldo's achieved in his career, I think we've just got to enjoy both of them, mate. As in like the stuff they've brought to football. Like every kid now wants to be Messi, Ronaldo. So
Mm-hmm.
just be
Yeah.
grateful that we've got both of them at the same time. So, but I'd say Messi. I've had issues, mate. I'd have to be Messi.
Yeah, I think Messi is a natural talent. Like you'll never see another Messi, but Ronaldo, in terms of his hard work, commitment, also the things he does outside of football, like in terms of a businessman as well.
Yeah,
I think he's very switched on. But I think the mindset of Ronaldo outweighs Messi. But in terms of technical
yeah,
ability, you can't say he's on a
yeah.
different level. And the last one thing that you would say to yourself 5 years ago.
To not take things to heart, like, you know, as in like switch off as well, like switch off from football. Like 5 years ago, I was just so intense, mate. Like wanted to be the best, wanted to do everything, wanted to go home and think about football, like think everything I'd done wrong, everything I'd done right. But growing up, I'd probably sit here now and think, have a switch off from football at times. Don't be so intense with yourself, and don't let things get mentally draining for you.
Mhm.
So I'd definitely say 5 years ago, kind of switch off from football a bit when you're not there, because you're so intense, mate. You train every day. When you go home, you can switch off from football a bit, and you can still learn. You can still watch football and be like, right, I want to learn from the best, which I do still now. But there's times where I want to switch off and relax and not think so much about football.
Yeah, it's all about that balance. Exactly, it's all about that balance. But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. There's so many different messages and stuff that people can learn from there. But it's been a pleasure having you on, mate. Good to catch up as well.
Been brilliant, mate. Nice. Thanks for having us.
No, no worries, mate. Take care. I'll put your Instagram and stuff in the show notes for Instagram, for YouTube and everything, so people can follow you if they want to ask you a question. I'm guessing they can just message you.
Oh,
Home to that.